Welcome to Political Musings here on this Monday, February 3rd of, yes, Black History Month. Oh, and with me today is Jess Piper of Missouri. Welcome to the show, Jess.
Hi, it's so good to be with you.
Well, Jess, why don't you introduce yourself, tell everybody a little bit about what it is you do.
Okay, my name is Jess Piper. I'm from a tiny little town, 480 people on the Iowa-Missouri border. I live in Missouri. I was a teacher for 16 years, decided when I didn't have a candidate to vote for on my ballot in 2020 that if nobody was going to run for state rep as a Democrat, that I would, and I did, and
Good.
I got my butt kicked.
You
But I
know,
learned.
but there was somebody on the ballot, and you made a difference.
Well, I hope so. I learned a whole lot of things, and then I realized there's really no infrastructure for a losing candidate. I couldn't go back to teaching because I said the words abortion and that trans people should be able to exist. So that kind of banned me from teaching in these small rural schools, and so I decided that I would keep working towards making Missouri a better place. Now I'm the executive director of Blue Missouri, and we are a crowd fund site where we raise money for down ballot candidates in Missouri, one of the only organizations to give money to down ballot Democratic nominees. And last year we gave away $230,000 to 43 different nominees in the state. Because I know that, this is the only way we fight back is to actually show up and have a candidate someone can vote for.
Right. Well, and here's the thing, because people say, "Oh, if why run if you don't have a chance of winning?" And the thing is, for those statewide races, those maybe few thousand people that you bring out because you're on the ballot might make the difference for that statewide candidate or for a
Yeah.
candidate that's further up. So I think it's just so important to have somebody on every spot in the ballot, and I've done the same thing myself where we can't get somebody to run, so let's just okay, I'll run.
Yeah. Right.
Well, we've been trying to do this for a while, but so many things I know in my life, I've lost so many people in the past few months, and it all started with the death of our democracy.
Mhm.
And I know you've lost some folks as well, and I just I I am so frightened by what's going on in the world.
Yeah, it can be completely paralyzing, and that's what they mean to do. This is a shock and awe campaign, and they're doing exactly what they said they were going to do. So I'm not sure why any of us are. We knew it was coming. I don't know that we knew what it would feel like, but right now is the time to get up and do something. And like I was talking to you before we went, online, is that I read the news and then I have to go outside. I have to get a breath of fresh air, or I'll be paralyzed in the recliner for 3 hours, doom scrolling, right? And that's not helping anybody. So this morning, when I saw what, Elon was up to, I called Josh Hawley. I called Eric Schmidt. I called my AG. And that was important because, I'm not going to get a response from Josh Hawley. I've been calling him for 7 years. I'm
I
probably not going to get a response.
Chris and John Cornyn, so I get
Yeah.
where you're coming from.
Yeah, I'm probably not going to get a response from Eric Schmidt. And so when I post about that, I'll have people online say, "What's the point? Why are you wasting your time?" I'm not wasting my time, and you're not wasting your time, Amy, because here's what we're telling them: you don't have a mandate. Not everybody in this state agrees with you. And so every single one of us that calls and says, "No mandate, we're watching you," um, puts a little, fear in them. Like maybe I could lose my position. Maybe they'll primary me if I don't listen and react.
Hmm. Well, one of the things, speaking of that you can do is you can get involved with various organizations that represent what you represent and do things like participate in lobby days. Now, I don't know how often the Missouri legislature meets, but in Texas, they meet for 6 months in odd numbered years,
Hmm.
unless there's a special session.
Yeah. Yeah, ours meet, I think they have their session is about 90 days and it's every year from January to May. Of course, they don't work 5 days a week, right? They're part-time legislators, which is another problem. A lot of them have, some personal things that they want to get through because, they're running businesses on the side or whatever. But yeah, I called my state representative today about Elon Musk. Can he do anything about it? No. I mean, he's a state rep, but I'm still I'm like, I can't get a hold of anybody. I'm going to call him because at least he calls me back. And by the way, he supports the Trump agenda. So I want to say now do you support it? And is there anything you can do? Can you get us through to anybody who can help? Because I mean, I'm not hearing from anybody. And like I said, I called my AG because here's the thing: Texas may have signed on to this too. Missouri signed on to a class action suit to sue Costco over DEI, and my AG is trying to sue Costco. Meanwhile, there's an unelected South African running the government with all of our sensitive data, right? So I was like,
Thank you.
dude, if you're going to do anything, let's focus. I mean, I'm not concerned that Costco hires women. I am concerned about Elon and his troop of 19-year-old young men who are walking in and installing hard drives on, every computer in the federal offices.
Yeah. And to that, the new acting undersecretary for public diplomacy, who was appointed by, um, this was, what's his name? Marco Rubio, the only person who even has a semblance of some qualifications for the job for which he's been. I mean, they talk about being DEI hires, and there are no more. Uh, uh, there's nothing more obvious than the people Trump has chosen, whose only qualification is they're sycophants.
Yeah, right.
And so let me just read a couple of posts, and I'm going to share them. I'm put them up on the screen there for those of you watching on YouTube. This is from Darren J. Beatty.
Aaron J.
Or
Beatty.
baby, I don't
Or
know.
baby, I don't know. I don't care.
This is what he says.
This is what he
The
says.
Chinese aren't
The
genocidal.
Chinese aren't
They just object
genocidal.
to
They
Uyghur
just object to
supremacy and
Uyghur supremacy and
Uyghurness.
Uyghurness.
If Uyghurs simply
If Uyghurs simply reject Uyghur supremacy, they'll have no problem functioning in Chinese society.
Here's another one.
Here's another one. Taiwan will inevitably belong to China. It's only a matter of time. It's not worth expending any capital to prevent. A visionary statesman will recognize this and make a deal in exchange for acknowledgement of this basic reality and get some serious concessions on Africa and Antarctica. Big deal to be made. And one more.
If Uyghurs don't
like anti-Uyghur racism, it must be because they are Uyghur nationalists who think all of China is Uyghurs only.
This guy,
let's see. What else he sees? He said that it shouldn't be anybody but
white men
in
government
in government. I mean, sometimes the best,
most qualified
person
is a Black Asian woman.
Yeah, I think she would have been a much better choice, and I think people are slowly figuring that out. Of course, we knew, and none of this was. I mean, we knew all this was coming because we had the playbook. We had Project 2025. We knew exactly what was going to happen, and they're walking through it one executive order at a time.
Oh, well, and along that DEI lines, continuing in that frame of thought, Education Department employees were placed on leave for attending diversity training, which this happened in the first Trump administration, and they were required to take this DEI training by none other than Betsy DeVos.
I mean, nothing has to make sense. We're in the upside down world. They're just throwing SHIT at the wall, see what sticks. I mean, if it sticks, good. If it doesn't, then we'll try something else. I mean, Bannon has told us what they were going to do, and they're doing it. Nothing makes sense, and it's hard to try to make it make sense. I know that they introduced a bill yesterday to abolish the Department of Education, and that's actually what it's going to take. So you have Musk coming into these agencies and shutting down the website and telling people to go home. Well, that doesn't mean anything. They don't have to go home. They don't have to turn in their computers. I would sit in my desk and say, make me. I mean, get in order, make me move. But with the Department of Education, they're introducing a bill to abolish it. So, I mean, that is the way that you actually do get things done.
They can pass anything they like because they have control of everything. And I just want to say to all those people that were just so mad at the Biden's administration response to Gaza. How's that working out for you?
Yeah, not well, seeing as how he's talking about genocide in that region. So,
I mean, he's genocide everywhere. USAID, since when does Elon Musk have the authority to shut down USAID?
He has no authority. He's unelected, but they've given him the thing with they're messing with language, and that, and I've talked about this several times. They put this department is called Doge, right? DOGE. That doesn't mean anything. There's no meaning to that word. It was an acronym that they used before with the stupid dog meme, right? But it doesn't mean anything. And so when you create this apparatus called Doge, people sort of tune out because it doesn't mean anything. I don't know what that means. And then to see them going over and taking over things, and they keep calling it, the OMB. And you're like, what does that mean? I have no idea what you guys are talking about. So we need folks, we need the Democrats going through here and explaining acronyms, explaining actions, explaining it is absolutely not constitutional what they're doing. And that's why I said, if he came into my office and told me to leave, I would say, make me. I'm not leaving, and you can't make me, right? And I'm hoping that we see more people do that.
Yeah, and I think we did, in fact. I think that was in the news yesterday or today. But we did have somebody leave that's quite important, and that is David Liebrecht. And let me see. I'm not sure if I've got this shared with the. Let me make sure I've got the sound. All right.
He's held the most senior position in the Treasury Department that is not politically appointed for years. He basically runs the government's checkbook, our payment system. So things like Social Security, Medicare payments, tax refunds to government employees. This guy runs that $6 billion of government money that goes out every year. Well, recently, a few of Elon Musk's allies that work in DOGE, Department of Government Efficiency with him, met with him and said they wanted to have access to this highly confidential payment system that very few people, even in the government, have. Well, he did not want to do that, and despite working for years and years, he resigned on Friday. This is noteworthy for many reasons. Now, we don't know why this group of DOGE guys wanted this access, but we do know this is another example of how Elon Musk and his allies, some of these guys who worked for him in previous companies, are moving more and more to have more control of our government. This one, I definitely thought. Don't sleep on.
All right, so that was Musk going in and getting control, and they did get control of the government's financial institution, and they pushed this guy out. I wish some of these people would just not leave and make them fire him.
That's what they should do. I wouldn't leave. And we saw there was another department today, and I saw a picture of several of their employees lined up to turn in their laptops. No, absolutely not. Right?
Yeah.
Refuse. Throw sand in the gears and do not do what they're telling you to do. That's, historian Timothy Snyder. Don't obey in advance. And
Right.
By the way, protect your institutions. And that's what they should be doing. I am seeing some Democrats in the Senate who are standing up and saying, you know what, I'm going to vote no on everything. I'm going to shut this down. And that's what we need. It's not a time for bipartisanship. It's not a time to reach across the aisle. I know Senator Amy Klobuchar, which I like her very much. She's very, our Midwestern nice senator. But she said over the weekend, we're going to work with them where we can. We're going to find common ground. No, there is no common ground with a fascist. Don't even try it. Stand up and say no. Vote no on everything. Shut it down.
Yep, I agree 100%. And they had one of the people that the Democrats knew that they couldn't keep him from being approved out of committee. One of the appointees. Or nominees, I guess is the correct word. And so they just didn't show up and didn't vote at all.
Yeah, good. Do that. Do that. I don't, I don't want them. And I don't like that people are one thing, like screaming at Democrats, like this is their problem. It's not. This is a Republican problem, and it's going to take the Republicans to fix it. However, Democrats can be opposition at every single turn. I'm not represented by any Democrat, not from my county sheriff all the way to, my senators, my governor, my reps, everybody is a Republican.
I'm there with you. I'm there with you.
But the thing is, I'm going to call them every day. Every day. They're the only ones who can fix this. And they should be working to fix it. And that's why it's important for people who have Republican representation to call every day.
Yeah. Since the turn of this century, only the times where we had a president and vice president who were Democrat have I had any representation that wasn't Republican. And I mean, you were talking about your AG. I will call your AG and raise you Ken Paxton.
Ken's pretty bad. And mine is Andrew Bailey, and he is neck and neck with him. In fact, they usually do the same stuff, right? Because they get their marching orders from the same people. And so they all sign on to the same stupid things. My AG is currently suing China for not giving us enough access to masks, while also during the pandemic saying that masks do not prevent COVID. So they're all over the place. All he does is spend our money, and he never gets a win, which is okay. But I'm kind of sick of, paying for his stupid lawsuits.
Oh, well, ours was indicted and sued and then decided that the state of Texas should pay for his lawsuits.
Perfect.
Because he was so corrupt that his all Republican staff quit en masse.
Yeah.
And sued him.
Yeah.
And then we're supposed to pay for that.
Right.
It's terrible. It's ridiculous. But we're not going to replace them until we do things like make sure that every single spot on the ballot is covered. And so, as I remind everyone, most times that I do this show, that is every single vote matters. Mm-hmm. And having those spots on the ballot, like when you ran, it made a difference. You may not feel it, but at the margins, those things make a difference. So we got to fill every spot on the ballot. Mm-hmm. There are other ways to get involved, like what you're doing. One of the things that I like to do when our ledge is in session is participate in lobby days. So next week, when this show will be on the air, and we may be live, or it may be a pre-recorded show that I try to get some interviews ahead of time and run that instead. But I will be in Austin for the Anti-Defamation League Texoma lobby day on Monday. And so I've signed up so far for 3, and anybody can do this. Have you ever been to a lobby day in your state?
Yes. Yeah, I'm a little over 4 hours from my state capital, so it's an 8-hour round trip for me. But I'm going tomorrow to testify against a bill. We just made abortion legal with a constitutional amendment, and they've already started writing bills to undo that constitutional amendment. So even though I gathered signatures, even though I voted, even though the will of the people spoke, I still have to drive 8 hours to tell them they have to listen to us. So it's annoying. And I see where people can sort of feel like it doesn't matter, nothing matters, right? And we just have to keep persisting. We have to keep going.
Yeah, and that's another thing that I will do is I'll go. I had it out with my young cousin who I was in Portland the last time I did this show because my cousin there is dying, and his son is, though he is not heteronormative, I think he's fluid or something like that, or bi or something. Anyway, lives in Berkeley, California, grew up in the Bay Area. He is MAGA. Mm-hmm. It makes no sense to me, and I don't know. I talked to him about going to Austin to testify against things like bathroom bills and anti healthcare bills for trans people, because I've done both of those things. In fact, I've got you only get a couple minutes, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Especially if it's one where there's a bunch of people testifying, and you might not even get your chance to go before the committee. But I took a speech that I wrote for a bathroom bill, changed it only ever so slightly for the next session and a new anti-trans bill. Yeah, and I don't even know what all we've got to deal with this time around, but I'm sure it'll be terrible. But I will be in Austin, and I've signed up for Planned Parenthood Lobby Day, and I've signed up for National Council of Jewish Women's Lobby Day. Probably I'll do the Democratic Women, but if you've never done that or testified in committee, which is a thing like you did, Anybody can do that. Anyone. You just go and sign up. Well, I'm going to leave the floor open to you, Jessica, and you tell me what is concerning to you right now. What do you want to talk about?
I'm very concerned about the Department of Education. I'm concerned that it's turned into an arm of propaganda. I watch their posts on Facebook quite a bit. They were celebrating School Choice Week, which is anti-public schools. They were celebrating the down, the taking down of DEI. They're celebrating basically bathroom bills and that sort of thing. So I'm very concerned about that. Trump, like he said, he was going to abolish the Department of Education, and instead he turned it into an arm of propaganda while they try to dismantle it. I'm concerned very much about my state, with overturning abortion rights, with making sure that it's difficult for families to get SNAP or Medicaid. We are 50th in the country for teacher pay. We are 50th in the country for funding our schools. And so while everything is blowing up at the national level, I feel like it's cover for what they're doing in red states. Like they can just slip this stuff through because we're paying attention to terrible things, happening at the national level. So I always have to remind myself, much of this national policy that's terrible is going to have to be filtered through the states, right? Your governor just said that he is going to offer up the Texas National Guard to, round up immigrants and that sort of thing. So what you can do in Texas is automatically, protest at your capital, everyone writing your governor. My son is in the National Guard, and the first thing I did was write my new governor and say, don't you dare think about sending these young men to round up their fellow Americans and send them to detention camps. So just remembering that while everything is blowing up at the national level, it's probably going to have to come through state government. So your best thing to do is to stay local. You're worried about your school, then you're contacting your Department of Education. You're worried about the National Guard rounding up immigrants, then you're talking to your governor. You're worried about what's going on with Elon Musk, then you're contacting your senators. You're contacting your AG. And like I said, I contacted my state rep, even though I know there's nothing he can do, but other than to say, we're watching you, right? Mm-hmm. And he's the same one who beat me. Like it was 2.5 years ago now, but he's the only person that'll call me back, not because we have a great relationship, not because we like each other, but because he's really close, right? I know he lives in Stanberry. I know him. I know his friends. I know his kin. I know everybody. He knows me. So he's going to call me back, even though, we don't agree. So I would encourage everyone watching this, listening to this, local, stay local.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And if you are running, I don't care if you're running for county tax assessor collector, I've had those on, or you're running for Justice of the Peace or school board. If you want to come on this show, as long as you are a pro-choice, pro-LGBTQ Democrat, you're welcome on this show. And I will help promote. You can, we'll promote your website. We'll tell people to donate. And that's the other thing people can do. When you donate, the Democratic National Party, the statewide top of the ticket candidates, running for senator, they're getting help. Mm-hmm. But you go down ballot and those folks are getting no help at all. And it's much harder to raise money too. Because
it is. It is. And that's why I run Blue Missouri, because I'm able to help those people, because fundraising for me is much easier than it is for somebody, a grandma who says, I'm going to run for state rep because nobody else is, and who doesn't have a name, who doesn't have social media, they're going to struggle. And so that's why we were able, some of our candidates, well, this is what we did. We raised the funding floor for every single Democratic nominee. So because of Blue Missouri, because of our members, not one single state rep candidate had less than $7,000. And that's big. That's huge, right? Because some of these folks had 500. And you can't buy lit with that. You can't buy gas with that. You can't knock very many doors because you're eating into your own income, right? And we know that people
the voter database.
Right. Yeah, that's $2,500 here. Of course, state rep candidates in Missouri, they get it for free because our House committee. But I know in other states they don't get it for free, and van is very expensive.
Yeah, I here in Texas, I believe it was a couple $1,000s for me running as a county clerk.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Right.
So.
Right. Yeah.
And then there may be filing fees. I actually the last time managed to get more than enough signatures because we have a choice, it's signatures or filing fee, and a lot of people choose filing fee.
Yeah. Yeah, it's difficult. I mean, it's hard work to go out and get signatures, and so yeah. But I sure like to see somebody doing the work and grabbing those signatures. That's nice too. So
yeah, I think it's good practice to get out there, early on and gather all those signatures. I think it helps you interact with the public and meet more people and get your face in front of more people.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, one of the things that happened. Oh, well, you know what? That's the Department of Education. Where is that? Data disappearing. Well, so we've got all these MUS people who have been getting into the computer systems and breaking things. And one thing that's been happening is CDC data is disappearing.
Right.
We're
seeing a lot of data disappearing, and that's why we always talk about keeping a journal, keeping an eye on what's going on locally and writing that down. I know that Canada has offered, they have their own CDC site, and they're like, ours is still up, you can still look here, but again, I mean, the whole thing is to break the government. And there are some people that are really excited that he is. However, a lot of those people are on Social Security and they're about to find out. So
they're on SNAP benefits, or, oh, maybe you're a woman and DEI is the reason they think you got hired. And there was a woman, I saw a video of a woman who was just absolutely nasty, posting terrible things. And then come to find out she lost her job over DEI.
Right.
And she's like, oh, but it wasn't supposed to happen to me. I'm like, oh, did the leopards eat your face?
Yeah. Yeah, it's I mean, it's something that I don't want to see people suffering, but a lot of people brought this on themselves. The bad thing is they're dragging down a whole lot of people who didn't bring this on themselves, who just happen to be poor folks, and so it's really problematic. But
yeah, and we've had so many different things happen. They tried to get rid of Black History Month and Holocaust Remembrance Day, and there was a memo that went out last week about that from the Defense Department. And then because they got pushback on it, now it's, oh, well, Trump has given you Black History Month.
Well, we always have to remember that just because they send down an edict from on high, we don't have to abide by it. I'm celebrating Black History Month. I put it on all my socials yesterday. Happy Black History Month, because I don't care what Trump says. We're still doing it, right?
Right, exactly. And I just wanted to, I mean, amongst the people getting their face eaten by the leopards, we all saw what we saw. Elon Musk did a Sieg Heil twice on Inauguration Day from behind the presidential seal.
Yeah, he did. We all saw what we saw. There's no reason to be gaslit into it. He's given, permission to the worst among us to also do those things. And so we always have to remember to call it out. I saw it, you saw it, refuse to be gaslit, right?
Right. Well, amongst those doing some of the gaslighting was the Anti-Defamation League said, "Oh no, it was just my heart goes out." No, it was he pounded his heart and his fingers were tight together with the thumb palm down, and the grimace on his face told you everything. That was not like Tim Wall's son saying that's my dad, right? That
Yeah, exactly. And
know.
I'm so sorry because I'm gonna have to log off. Like I said, I've got a sick grandkid at the house, and he should be up any minute. And I'm just waiting for him to run in screaming. But I appreciate you having me on here, Amy. It's been a lot of fun.
Oh, thank you. And I'd love to have you back anytime. And also, any candidates you're working with, you just send them my way. My friend Vic Verma moved up to Wisconsin, and he's been sending me people running for the Wisconsin legislature.
Awesome. I will do that. I appreciate you and everything you're doing.
Oh, thank you. And you keep doing what you're doing.
Thank you. Talk soon, friend.
All right. Well, that was Jessica Piper. She was our guest today. Let's talk about what's going on with the trade wars. And I haven't checked to the minute what exactly has happened. Are they still on? Are they off? I mean, because it's crazy, but of course, when Trump announced that he was doing those tariffs, the markets tanked. The markets tanked because it's bad for the economy. It is bad for the economy. I don't know why. People don't figure this out. Here's another one. The Pentagon has informed its resident press corps. Let me go back to the trade war. To the trade war. He's going to put a 25% tariff on everything from Canada and Mexico. Do you buy a car? Do you own a car? Well, guess what? A large percentage of the parts from every single car made in America, every shipping truck made in America. I know this because my husband works for Peterbilt. They all have parts from Canada and Mexico, and some are assembled in Canada or Mexico. So, you may be buying a Ford, but your parts aren't all made in Detroit, right? A lot of those parts are coming from Canada or Mexico. So that's going to raise the price of a car. Your car, and you know what else it's going to do? It's going to cause big layoffs in the automotive industry. I wonder how many of those people voted for Trump. Is this what you voted for? Congratulations. The leopards are eating your face. Don't say we didn't tell you. What else is there? Oil and gas. Now, what we process down in Southeast Texas is light sweet. So that's mostly like West Texas. But and what comes from Canada tends to go out through the ports. They come down to Southeast Texas and then they go out through the ports. And so that is, again, it's going to make the cost of energy go up. We get electricity from a lot of those northern states, they get their electricity from Canada. Yeah. So a lot of them get their electricity from Canada, and we still have February yet left to go. So there's still going to be some blizzards and things. Heck, climate change. We saw blizzards on the Gulf Coast. Yeah, Florida was having a blizzard. New Orleans was having a blizzard. Baton Rouge had a blizzard. They had blizzard warnings along the Gulf Coast. That is not normal. That is not normal. Let's see what else. Let's talk about the difference between Pete Hegseth, an alcoholic weekend talk show, news show host on Fox news entertainment show host, his body is covered with white supremacist, Christian nationalist, Nazi symbolisms, tattoos all over him. All over him. It's not like he's keeping it a secret. He is a Nazi, just like Musk is a Nazi. You know who thinks Musk is a Nazi? The Nazis think Musk is a Nazi. So, don't be fooled by the BS. But let's look at Lloyd Austin, who just retired, was appointed by President Biden. He was he graduated from West Point in 1975. He was commissioned in as infantry second lieutenant. He completed airborne and ranger schools before receiving his initial assignment in Germany with the 3rd Infantry Division mechanized. As a rifle platoon leader. He was, let's see. Oh, let's skip down a little bit. He was commanding general of the 10th Mountain Division Light and CJTF 180 in Afghanistan. He was commanding general of multinational camps in Iraq. He was commanding general of the U.S. Armed Forces in Iraq. He was Army Vice Chief of Staff. He was CENTCOM. He commander at CENTCOM, United States Central Command. He was preceded in that post by General Mattis, General James Mattis. So, in that first Trump administration, at least the people that he picked, although I'm not fond of them, they were qualified, many of them. This guy is not. He's a drunk. He's got multiple allegations of sexual assault, and his claim to fame is he's, a weekend host. Do you know how many people in this new Trump administration are just people he saw on Fox News? That's the stupid part. But yeah, so here's this guy who's done all these things, and then Secretary of Defense. And so he has a huge resume that made him qualified to do the job. But he was black. So clearly, Pete Hegseth, the drunk, who, he served in the military, but he didn't get very high up in the ranks, and his administrative says he served on the board. He ran a couple of veterans charities and drove them to the ground, and had to be, because of mismanagement of funds, they had to bring in somebody to clean up the books, because he's a crook and he's a criminal. Why are we still doing this? Why are we still giving these people? But, you know, oh, he's a white guy. He's a right Christian man. He replaced Lloyd Austin. Let's talk about the border. I'm going to go over here and share this screen real quick.
Brownsville, Texas. It's about 65 degrees. It's usually windy here. And it's an especially beautiful day to go visit the border, to go see what all the fuss is about, to go see what this invasion business is all about, huh? Let's go. This is what an international bridge looks like. That's Border Patrol doing secondary inspections. We have the college is right here. This is where you cross into the country. That's the one side. This is where, if you are bringing any bottles of liquor or cigarettes or things like that, that's where you would pay for the tax. Over here is downtown Brownsville. Pretty regular stop situation today, it seems like. So this is where you start to go in, and you also, if you're driving, and you also have this option to simply walk across, like many people do every single day. Because here in Brownsville, we have an allyship with Matamoros, which is the neighboring town. And the citizens of Brownsville go to Matamoros for services. The citizens of Matamoros come to Brownsville for services, for education. Over here, we have the duty-free shop where you can buy cigarettes and liquor, alcohol products without paying a tax on them. It looks like it's closed right now, but I'm coming over here because I want to try to get a good look at the border on this side. So this right here is part of this border wall, right, that we have built. And I'm gonna get over this. You can see on this side, that's where, this is the walking pedestrian bridge to get into the Mexico side. But there's a little road right there. Okay. And then all of this is a wall. There's a Border Patrol officer patrolling the area right now, doing his duty. Thank you very much, sir. But look how orderly and clear it is around here, you guys. This is, I mean, this is like the first thing that anybody returning to the United States or coming into the United States sees for the first time. Downtown Brownsville. And I mean, I already saw the other side, and you guys see that there was not any sort of commotion, just regular people going about their day, going about their business. Is obviously a predominantly Hispanic area, meaning that the people here are people of color, whether that's a little bit of color or a lot of color. But it's very easy to racially profile out here because anybody could be from Mexico or from another country. Look how calm this whole area is. Do you see immigrants just crawling about? Do you see the armed forces of Mexico, which, by the way, is actually the thing that defines an invasion? Okay, so here's another vantage point. I was somewhere right over there, and now I'm over here. You can see that part of the river is right there. There's another road.
All right, so that was a video of a woman in Brownsville just showing you that it's calm and that it has been calm. And this invasion they keep talking about does not exist. It doesn't exist. It's not an invasion. And,
people going back and forth across that border all the time. It's just not that big of it. When I was young, you used to be able to just show your driver's license and walk across the bridge. And I did. I went with my ex-husband one time. I went across to Laredo with my dad one time, and just with nothing. But I mean, I think when I went with my dad, I was young enough that I didn't have a driver's license yet, and just my dad showed his. It's not a big deal. And this invasion they're talking about doesn't exist. It doesn't exist. They're saying that the border is wide open. It's not. That's just a lie. So stop with that. Stop. Just stop. We have congrats to Australia. Australia has introduced a new bill that caps the total amount billionaires like Elon Musk can spend on political parties to just $20,000. That's still a lot of money, but legislation will completely ban billionaires from buying elections in the country. Good job. Thank you, Australia. That's what we need to do. CDC data. The Musk's former employees are trying to use White House credentials to access General Services Administration tech, giving them the potential to remote into laptops, read emails, and more, sources say. Oh, that's not scary at all. Linda Hassenfratz, the executive chairwoman of the Canadian auto parts maker Linamar, said that 25% tariffs President Trump intends to pose on exports from Canada and Mexico could shut down North American auto production within a week. This is what I was saying earlier. Every single car made in America has parts from Canada and Mexico. Good job. Now, I found this and I wanted to bring this up. This is a post that I found. It's in 1923, Adolf Hitler incited an insurrection against the German government. He was tried, given a slap on the wrist, and became a convicted felon. Despite being treated charitably by the judge, Hitler claimed the trial was political persecution. Does this sound familiar? And successfully portrayed himself as a victim of the corrupt Social Democrats. Any of that sound familiar? And then, of course, we all know what happened after that, right? Elon Musk staff been caught plugging in hard drives in the Office of Personnel Management, OPM, the Treasury Department, and the General Services Administration. Staff encountered resistance when demanding that Treasury officials grant access to systems managing the flow of more than $6 trillion annually to programs like Social Security and Medicare. Tensions escalated when Musk aides were discovered at OPM accessing systems including a vast database known as Enterprise Human Resources Integration, EHRI, which contains sensitive information such as dates of birth, social security numbers, performance appraisals, home addresses, pay grades, length of service, government employees, and in response, employees speaking out, Musk aides locked civil servants out of computer systems and offices with reports of personal items being searched. Well, that's not at all scary. Oh, but we mustn't forget to thank Trump for invading California and turning on the giant faucet. Acting on Trump
order, federal officials opened up 2 California dams. State officials were not part of the decision making. I don't know where this water is going, but this is the wrong time of year to be releasing water from these reservoirs. Look closely, they basically created flood level situation. Basically, no reason other than it seems to create a backstory that Trump released the waters, and these rivers don't even go south. They don't go south. It's so stupid. Ah. All right. Pentagon has informed resident press corps that NBC, NYT, that's New York Times, NPR, National Public Radio, and Politico will rotate out of the building to give space to New York Post, Breitbart, OANN, and HuffPo. Okay. That's not at all scary. Now this one I love. This one I love, and I have to show this to you on screen. What I have is a Danish baker responding to Trump's desire to buy Greenland, and actually talking about invading Greenland. All these people saying, "Oh, but he's a peacenik. He didn't start any wars." He's talking currently about wars with Panama, Greenland, Denmark, Canada, Mexico, China. I mean, really? It's just not true. He ain't no peacenik, folks. But this baker in Denmark, which is, I love Denmark, he started selling moron cakes, and they're little like cupcakes, little pedophores maybe, that kind of look like Trump's face. I love it so very much. I want to order me some. I don't know if I can, but I would love to get an order of these. I would send them to friends. It's just amazing. We already talked about that. And so that's really all I have for you today. We've come to the end of our show. We've talked about a lot that's going on. Mostly, I want you to get involved. So as I remind you every week, get registered, get informed, get politically active. That's the big one. Get politically active. Yeah, there's a march on Wednesday nationwide at state capitals. Get involved. Go testify. Watch what is in your state capitals. Watch what bills are being passed. Go testify for good ones. Go testify against bad ones. You have the right as a citizen to do that. Go do it. Get politically involved and go vote. We've got votes coming up. Just want to remind you, there's going to be all kinds of votes. It's not just every 4 years. Make sure your vote counts every single time. If you don't have anything nice to say, come sit next to me.